These are notes on converting measures. More specifically, we're going to be converting between the metric and the customary system. The metric system is things like kilometers and centimeters and meters. The customary would be inches, feet, miles, things like that. To start, I want you to copy down the chart in purple. That's going to give 4 of our most commonly used conversions that we'll be using. Again, we can have length, that's going to be our distance, capacity is how much something can hold, and weight or mass, obviously how much it weighs. Now that you have your conversions copied down, we're going to use them. We're going to be setting up some proportions in order to solve these problems. So it says that we're going to complete the statement and round to the nearest hundredth if necessary. So for the first one, we need to figure out how many kilometers are in 7 miles. So back to our chart. We're looking for the conversion that uses miles and kilometers, which would be this one right here. When you're setting up a proportion, you're going to take your conversion factor and just copy it down as your first fraction. It is important that you put units on your numbers. That way you know how to set up your second fraction. So notice we have miles in the numerator, kilometers in the denominator. Really, that doesn't matter. I could have flip-flopped it. The important part is that the second fraction lines up with the units on the first. So we know 7 miles and we're trying to figure out kilometers. So I'm going to line up miles with miles. So I'm going to put 7 miles in the numerator. The denominator is what I don't know, and so that's where I will put the variable. Okay, now I'm going to solve this proportion. I could use cross products. For this one, because 1 can easily multiply into 7, I'm going to use the scale factor method. So I'm going to multiply both the numerator and denominator by 7. So we'll set this up 1 6/10 multiplied by 7. 6 times 7 is 42. 7 times 1 is 7. 7 plus 4 is 11. And then the decimal is going to move over 1 spot. So my value for x is 11.2. Now, one thing I want to point out, all of these have kind of squiggly equal signs. That means approximately equal. These are rounded versions of the exact conversion factor. So for my final answer, I can write x is approximately equal to 11.2, and this was lining up with kilometers. So my final answer will be in kilometers. So in 7 miles, there are approximately 11.2 kilometers. Okay, next one. This time we're converting 12 quarts into liters. So I'm going to be using my capacity conversion factor. Okay, again, start by writing it as a fraction, 1 quart over 95 hundredths of a liter. And the second half of the proportion, I have 12 quarts, and that needs to line up with quarts. So I'll put this one in the numerator. And the part that I don't know is liters, so that's where the variable goes. Okay, just like before, I can use a scale factor of 12. So 1 times 12 is 12. So 95 hundredths times 12 will give me the value for x. So we'll set this up. 12 times 95 hundredths. Go ahead and multiply. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 1 plus 1 is 6. Then we'll do a 0 placeholder. 9 times 2 is 18. 9 times 1 plus 1 is 10. And add the digits. And the decimal point will go 2 places over. So x is approximately equal to 11 4/10, and the units need to match up, so this is going to be liters. And then back up in the problem, 12 quarts is approximately equal to 11 4/10 of a liter. Okay, next we need to figure out how long the iguana is in inches. We know that it is 24 and 7/10 of a centimeter. So again, we will find the conversion factor that we need. Centimeters to inches is this one right here. So we'll set up 1 inch over 2.54 centimeters. And then the second half of the proportion, we know centimeters, so that's going to line up in the denominator, 24.7 centimeters. And we're trying to turn it into inches, so we'll put our variable right there. This time there isn't a scale factor that we can use, so we're going to use cross products. So we'll multiply 1 times 24.7, which is 24.7. And then on the other side, we're going to multiply 2.54 by x. And now we have a one-step equation. We're going to divide by 2.54 on each side. And just to save time in the video, the correct answer for 24.7 divided by 2.54 is going to be approximately 9.72. That's the rounded version. I rounded to the nearest hundredth, which is the second digit after the decimal. The last piece of this is I need to put units on it, so this is going to be in inches. So he's about just under 10 inches long, which would seem reasonable for an iguana. Okay, next we're going to compare the speed of two different planes. The first one, the monoplane, flies at 50 miles per hour. The second one, the biplane, flies at 70 kilometers per hour. Just like before, I'm going to start with my conversion factor to set up my proportion. I only need to pick one measurement to convert to the other. Then I can compare the two. So I'm going to convert 50 miles per hour into kilometers per hour. That way they'll be in the same units and it'll be easy to compare. So as before, I'm looking for miles to kilometers, which will be this conversion right here. So we're going to set up 1 mile over 1 6/10 of a kilometer. And the piece that we know is 50 miles. So we're going to line up 50 miles with 1 mile and a variable in the other place. Next, we're going to solve the proportion. This one I can use a scale factor of 50. So I'll multiply both the numerator and denominator. Can set up 1 6/10 multiplied by 50. So 5 times 6 is 30. 5 times 1 plus 3 is 8, and the decimal would go right there. So that shows me that 50 miles per hour is approximately 80 kilometers per hour. Now it's really easy to compare the two. I can see that the monoplane is faster than the biplane, and it's actually faster by 10 kilometers per hour. And so for your final answer, you would write that sentence. Once again, the monoplane is faster than the biplane by 10 kilometers per hour. So quickly to review, anytime you're converting between two measurements, you first find your conversion factor and write that as your first fraction. That's just given off of the chart. And then you set up the second half of your proportion to make sure that the units you are given match up with the units that you're trying to convert.